Wits University says if conditions for tuition do not improve, they may have to consider closing the institution entirely. I mean, operations are currently suspended until further notice. Now, students across the country have been protesting due to Minister of Higher Education Blade Nzimande's announcement that he would cap university fee increases at 8%. Now, to tell us more about this, we're now joined by Professor Habib, Vice Chancellor at the Wits University. A very good morning, Professor. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, when you say you're considering to close the university completely, what do you mean by that?
So for now, we're not closed completely in the sense that what we have at the moment is our academic programs are suspended, but students are still in the residences. People do come in now and then. There are protests happening on the concourse, and security is in place. So the university is ostensibly open, if you like, but the academic program has been suspended. Now that's just not a situation that we can continue with. We can't have a situation. I mean, this is a university. We are meant to be teaching and we are meant to be doing research. And effectively, we cannot deliver what the students want. Free education has to be a process, and it has to be delivered by government itself. It's not something that the universities can do. And while I'm very for a process of bringing down the cost of fees and working towards a free education system, a higher education system, I want to also make clear, I don't think it's right to sacrifice the lives of all of our students, to sacrifice the lives of to sacrifice the studies of those students at Wits University this year. And so we've got to have a plan to start the academic program back. And that's what we're not seeing. We're not seeing a willingness by the student leadership to say, can we sit down? Can we begin the program? Can we ensure that while we're still struggling...
But then have you tried engaging the students regarding this?
Well, we have tried last week. I wasn't here last week because I was out at the UN. But my colleagues did try. And we did engage. But there has to be a willingness to accept that they have to go back to the academic program. You know, the vast majority of students, I believe, want to study. They support free education, but they want to study. And I think that it's important that their voices are heard.
Yeah. Now, Professor, the students vow that it's not really over until fees fall completely. How seriously do you take those threats?
Well, I think it's a dangerous threat because it's, you know, in the 1980s, we had a slogan among some that said, no education before liberation. It destroyed a generation. Now we're having a group of people who are saying, no free education, no education at all. It could destroy another generation. And I think that we need people to understand that, and that it's unacceptable to do that. Now, while I'm very for the work and working towards a free education, what I'm also saying is that you can't sacrifice the studies of people this year. We need to make sure that people graduate. And we need to make sure that the vast majority graduate. And that, I believe, is something that people want to hear. You know, I want to give you an example. I think it's important for the nation to understand this. Here's an email. It broke my heart. Came in last night from a student. Good evening. This is my second year at Wits, and the university lays out the bricks of the path to my dreams. I'm part of the silent majority in favor of returning to class. I know for a fact that there are many more of us, but we fear to stand up against those protesting, scared of being threatened, bullied, and deemed racist. Last year, I expressed my desire to return to class on Facebook, my anger building, and I had to remove the post as a result of negative comments. Let me tell you what I feel. I am angry. Our university holds so much for me, mostly a promising future. True, it gives me many sleepless nights as I worry about marks and due assignments. But in the end of the semester, I breathe a sigh and watch documentaries and read articles. While studying psychology, I listened intently and picture myself one day seated as a psychologist in front of someone that needs their world brightened. I see myself as a teacher, becoming a second mother to students learning multiplications, provide gentle nudges in the right direction so I can watch them grow like I did. She goes on. And then she says, injuries, pages with pictures of blood, of burns of smoke and bullet casings, all for a cause I know is desperately desired by some. But come with answers, please. Forgive those who hate. Help us find a solution. Help me to study.
That is so unfortunate.
And that's the thing that I think. It's these young students whose futures must not be sacrificed.
Yeah.
And that's what I think needs to happen.
Now, earlier this year, Professor, we saw students saying that they want to decolonize the university. What exactly is at play here? Is the university colonized?
Well, there's a lot of people I'd like to get out of rhetoric to argue, what do you really mean? So last year we put a plan of transformation. Look, many students feel alienated. Mm-hmm. And so we've said, let's address it. Let's put a plan about renaming buildings, about transforming the culture, about changing the professoriate, about dealing with language, about dealing with human resource conditions on the campus. So we put a whole plan together. Now, you have to be part of that plan. You can't think the way you transform a situation is by toy-toying and protesting without engaging. That's the problem. I haven't seen any of them engage. None of the people who are raising all of this thing, the decolonization,
right,
have ever sat and said, we don't agree with this. Could you do these things in this way?
Unfortunately, Professor, we haven't much time. But then what do you think, just briefly in 20 seconds, what do you think the future holds for higher education in the country?
Well, I think the future is dangerous. I think that we could destroy our universities unless people become pragmatic. And I think that ordinary people, parents, students, everybody needs to be heard and said, we want to protect our futures. We want to study, and we want the universities to enable us to study.
All right.
That, I think, is the central message we need.
All right, Professor, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
That was Professor Adam Habib, Vice Chancellor at the Wits University. And we'll take a short break now. Morning Live will return right after this.